This is Robin Moyer Chung's second time on our 06880 podcast.
It is.
I interviewed her a couple of years ago as editor of Westport Lifestyle Magazine. She is also a podcaster, a lyricist, and on the board of Positive Directions. Today, Robin is here as our new 06880 culture correspondent. So welcome to our podcast and congratulations on your new gig.
Yes, well, thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
So let me put you on the spot.
Uh-oh.
What will you be doing as our new 06880 culture correspondent?
Well, Dan, I'm glad you asked that. So as a new culture correspondent right now, first of all, Westport is full of brilliant, brilliant culture. And what we don't have here, we're getting from Broadway. We're getting from Disney's Coco. We're getting from New York, from everywhere. And we have wonderful shows and wonderful exhibits. And I want to know what they're about. Like, I want to know, what is this show about? What is this exhibit about? I want a backstory. I want to learn about. So that's what I'm going to be writing about. And we're covering Museum of Contemporary Art, MoCA Westport, and Westport Playhouse, and, well, really anything, Music Theater of Connecticut. And as we were discussing, we'd like to do Community Theater of Westport if we can get in touch with someone. But anything culture related I want to write about.
So what is your cultural background?
My cultural background? Well, I grew up near a city, near Boston, and I loved going to shows. I remember, actually, the first time my parents took us to New York, we saw Sandy Duncan and Peter Pan. And that blew me away. So ever since then, I've loved Broadway. I love Broadway enough that I went to study musical theater writing, hence lyricist, librettist. And my mom and dad would take us to the city, to Europe. We'd go to museums. I spent a lot of time in museums when I was younger, and I really learned to appreciate it. And in Boston, I remember walking into the Boston Museum of Art and seeing this fabulous painting. I can't remember, I think it was Alpha by Morris Louis. And I fell in love with painting. And I love to go out and do things and to see it. And, when I found out, this is kind of not on the subject, but when I found out that I talked to a couple of people who had heard of MoCA, but that had never been.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that.
Well, that sort of leads into my next question, which is, we often pat ourselves on the back and call ourselves an arts community.
Yes.
Are we?
Yes, very much so, except for half the people don't really know that. I do think we're an arts community. And I mean, as evidenced by Staples, Staples players, and as evidence as all the institutions and all the donors who are giving to these institutions to support it. But I think there are too many people that don't take advantage of it. But yes, I do. Do you think it's an art community?
How do you define arts community?
Well, it has fine art. It has quality art, and people care about it. And, it's also, but here's the interesting thing, is that it is also very much a business community. And the two of them don't always go hand in hand. And I think that's the biggest issue. I also think that the people in Westport are, as happens, they're younger than they were, so they're not necessarily keeping pace with the institutions that we have available to them. They have interests in different manners. They have, it's the iPhone generation. So they're not, as evidenced with the Westport Playhouse and how that has, Westport Country Playhouse, that's just been revamped to attract younger crowds and more people. And yes, I think it is an arts community, but I think it's, in a way, an aging arts community. And it's getting more and more expensive to live here, so we may not be attracting the artists, the starving artists. I think we're attracting a lot of very successful creative types that have already achieved something in their field, and they may or may not be interested in volunteering, in being in an arts, collective, or perform. And having said that, we do have some really wonderful professionals that do give a lot of their time and talent. So I don't want to diminish that at all. But that's what I'm seeing when I go to shows. I'm seeing, the same faces, and I think they're doing a good job of reaching out to younger people. And I'm also hoping that in this role, I can help introduce all of these wonderful things to people that may not be going, to younger people, to anyone who might enjoy it but doesn't really know it exists.
So the younger audiences are, when the Playhouse went through its near-death experience a couple of years ago, came within days, really, of declaring bankruptcy. Part of the issue was that they had not reached out to younger audiences. All these new COVID people who have moved in, who are, they bring energy, they bring excitement to the town. You sort of alluded to it. Are they now going to the Playhouse? Do they know about MoCA? What are their cultural expectations?
Well, it's tricky because, again, a lot of people, they just don't go to it because they don't know much about it. I mean, that's the reason why I'm so excited about this role is because I thought, well, I want to go see a show at Westport Playhouse, but I know the title of the show, and now I know, I can find out who the director is, but what is the show about? Is it any good? Do I really want to spend, money on a ticket and an evening sitting in an audience, looking at something that I really am not enjoying? And it could be very good. It could be a great production, but it may just not be what I want to look at. And I think there's that. I also think that, like I said, entertainment's a little bit different than it used to be. And people are, watching things on, I would say, streaming, like Netflix. And sometimes that's just easier to do, especially if you don't really know what's playing or what to anticipate.
So why should someone spend money, drive, sit down? What do you gain from a live performance that you would not get from looking at your
No, there
screen?
is nothing like a live performance. There is nothing like a live performance, and just seeing it and seeing, the great parts of it. I mean, it's just like having a Zoom as opposed to a face-to-face conversation. And I personally, as an interviewer, I always prefer face-to-face because you catch things that you would not otherwise see. You don't have the directors, the cut, the close-up, and you're missing all this other stuff back here. You're seeing everything. And the other day, actually, I was in Chicago and I saw a performance, and it was brilliant. It was Amadeus. And lots of talking. All of a sudden I hear line. And just like that, there was a woman following the script who just said the line. And it was the lead performer, brilliant job, said the line. And then a couple lines later, he said line, just fully in character. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in live theater, because it was like seeing him in character saying line, and then just without a shred of embarrassment or hesitation. And just but it's also the backstory. That's sort of a backstory thing. And I love a good backstory. I love to know why something is there, why it exists, and why it's being done. You can't see that in a movie. You can't see, And who doesn't love, and I'm not trying to talk about all the mess ups, but who doesn't love the what are they called? Like at the end of the film, they'll show you like the mess up reel, the outtakes.
The outtakes.
Yeah, the outtakes.
Blooper reel, whatever you want to call it.
Because you want to know that something's real.
Yeah.
And genuine.
Yeah.
And not that I'm looking for bloopers in shows, but
right.
and seeing a painting. I mean, you go to the Louvre and the Mona Lisa. People are packed in there. They've all seen the picture a million times. We all have, but people pack in there because they need to see it live.
And what do you get when you see it live that you don't?
Well, you get the energy of other people around you, and you get the energy, and you just get the sort of the social. It's a social thing, and you get to see things that you get to, like, I always go to painting. When I see paintings, I always look real close, especially when I was younger, and it was like a Manet exhibit. And I just look at the paint strokes, and just so I could have a sense of its authenticity. Like, this exists. You can see where someone worked really hard creating it. And it's more than just seeing a photo in a book or a photo on a screen. You're getting the cleansed version. You're getting whatever people really want you to see, but you're not getting the authenticism. And I think we really need that in culture today, in society today. We're missing out on so much of that.
In an AI world.
In an AI world, too.
Yeah.
AI is terrific, don't get me wrong, but if I read an article, I know off the bat if it's written in AI because it's not real. Yeah. It's all flourish and it's all, this is perfect and this is wonderful and can't you believe that, I'm like, oh, no, it just,
and
it's
the
boring.
Images too, there's AI images.
Yeah.
That are. So let's go through, we mentioned at the beginning a few of Westport's cultural institutions.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give a quick take on some of them?
Yeah.
Playhouse?
The Westport Playhouse, yes. And it's, as you know, it's been around forever and ever and ever. And it's wonderful. And also Mark Shanahan, in my opinion, is doing a terrific job.
The artistic director.
The artistic director. I'm going to be writing a Sherlock Carol about a Sherlock Carol, which is playing, I think it opens on December 13th. He actually wrote that. And it's been so popular, this is the third year that it's playing. And, well, I won't talk a lot about each individual thing. I'm really excited. There's a show coming up that I'm also really excited for. But anyways, and then there's Mocha, that has a wonderful exhibit now, Enough Already.
Mocha is the
Museum of Contemporary Art.
Out on Newtown Turnpike.
Newtown, yeah, in Martha Stewart's old production studios.
Right.
And it's been there since 2019, I think. And they had this wonderful collection. It's two females living in Ohio, and they have amassed a collection of feminist works. And it's an amazing show, and it's fun to look at. And there's some violent images. I wrote about it. You can all read about it in Dan Woog. And so they're really getting some novel things, and they're going to have they're doing a high school not a competition, a high call for high school works, and which they always do. I believe it's up in February to complement the show that's going to be going on in February. And this year it's about music, and I can't remember the name of it, but they're asking they're asking students to select a song and then to write a piece or create a piece of work that reflects how this song has affected culture. And which I was trying to think of, can I do that? It was a song since 2020, and I'm like, can I do that? I can't even think of anything. But anyways, it was an interesting.
Which brings up, I was going to go through a couple of more institutions, but since you mentioned high school, are kids today culturally aware? I'm not talking about, the music they listen to or anything like that, but are they excited by, into, aware of culture?
I certainly can't speak on behalf of all of them, but I have noticed, no, not so much. I mean, I think that we could be doing a lot better at that. I mean, my kids are not the most culturally, astute. They don't like going to museums. I try to drag them places, but they didn't grow up doing that. Mm-hmm. Even though we have New York, so now I feel like I've failed as a parent, but whatever. Moving on. But no, I think that even though we have New York so accessible and all this amazing art so accessible, I never have seen a kid at the Westport Playhouse. Right. I didn't see kids. I mean, granted, this was not like the greatest exhibit to show a young child, but it is wonderful. I haven't seen kids there. I'm hoping that changes. And they do really great, like Music Theater of Connecticut has musical theater education for kids. So they do have, and MoCA has art classes, and they do reach out. But I think that, it's almost like parents are pushing their kids so hard to be successful as an artist or a player, or that they're almost forgetting that they should be experiencing it instead of going to voice lessons or experiencing it instead of, you know, going to art classes and trying to be the very best you can possibly be. Just, but then it's, it's like, but that's not to say there's some wonderful, extraordinary artists here. So does that answer your question? Sort of. I guess
Sort of. That's fine.
Okay.
Artist Collective of Westport.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about them?
Well, they have an exhibit coming up. And I think it also starts the 13th, anyways, the 11th. I'll write about it. I don't know as much about the Artist Collective. I know some of the history about it. Do you want me to talk about that, or?
Sure.
It's okay. So it started out as the Westport Arts Collective, and Westport was recognized for being a really solid arts community way back in 1929, at least. So it was 100 years ago. And then in 1969, they gave some money to start the Westport Artists Collective. And there are artists today that were in the sort of inaugural team or collective. And then
that's the Westport Arts Center.
Oh, yes, Westport Arts Center. See, I'm getting everything confused too. A Westport Arts Center, WAC, over on Riverside. And then in, the late 2010s, like around 2018, 19, some board members and the executive director decided that they wanted to be bigger and better. And so there was a clash among the artists in the center and the directors. The directors wanted something bigger and newer, hence the Martha Stewart Production Studios and what we have is MoCA. And the Westport Art Center artists felt neglected. And so they got together after MoCA was built, and they thought, well, we don't have WAC anymore, but we're going to have something bigger and better. And sure enough, they all coalesced, and now they do the Artists Collective, which has sort of a home in the Westport Playhouse, in that
barn.
shed. Yeah, in the barn, the shed, the barn, yeah. So anyways, I'm looking forward to their exhibit, and they always have some really beautiful, and it's local. They're local artists, which is really special.
Music Theater of Connecticut.
Music Theater of Connecticut has a very special place in my heart. It's Jim and Kevin do a great job. It's a nonprofit. They started it in, I want to say, Long Lots Elementary or Bedford Middle School Auditorium, and then they moved to. This is over 20 years ago. Then they moved to this wonderful little sliver of a theater in Colonial Greens. It sat 45
level.
People, lower level. Yep. Felt like a troll walking in. They did, I only saw a couple shows there, but I was blown away by what they could do with just no more than a cast of 14. They did a production of Evita in that little tiny space. And then they realized that they were busting out of it. So they opened a theater closer to Norwalk, near Whole Foods, I think. And it's wonderful, and it's small, and they have really great performances. They're not great at marketing. We were talking about this. People with a passion for theater don't necessarily have a passion for marketing. So if you haven't heard of them, that's probably why. And again, they can get Broadway performers, and performer, wonderful, wonderful actors in acting. And they can get residents. There was a show that they did with a father-son who lived in Westport. And evidently they did an outstanding job.
That was Daniel Sklar
Yes.
and his son Ari, who is now at Staples.
Yes. Do you remember the show?
Do not.
Yeah, okay.
Do not. What's the Westport Community Theater?
Yeah, Westport Community Theater. I don't know much about them because, again, they're not great at marketing, and so. But I'm hoping because that's a really important resource that we have, and just to see the passion and the drive that people have for live theater, and to perform in it, to direct it. So I'm looking forward to kind of starting some sort of dialogue with them. I've reached out to them. Again, not great at marketing. We'll see what we can do. There's also jazz at the VFW, which
every Thursday.
Yeah, and they're getting. There's a man coming up who played with Dizzy Gillespie, And I mean, these are extraordinary. And so when they're not traveling the world, when they're not playing at the Blue Note in Manhattan, they're like, okay, I have a free Thursday. Sure, I'll go to Westport, do a couple, perform.
Come on the train.
Just get on the
It's
train.
right there.
Right.
And what they really like is that the shows are 7:30 and 8:45, so they get home at a reasonable hour.
Yes.
They're not playing at 2 a.m.
Yes. And, when the last time I went, it was Melissa Newman, who was really wonderful.
Westport,
Joanne and Paul's daughter.
Westport woman.
And there was like a buffet. I mean, first of all, you go into VFW and it's sort of like, you just go see VFW Hall. It's a relic. I mean, it's a blast from like a time capsule. And so it was kind of a lot of fun for that reason. And they had a buffet dinner. Now, they didn't advertise the name of the restaurant. And I don't remember why, but there was like a reason for not advertising it. And here we are, like at this long table, and we just kind of like unceremoniously get up and help ourselves to these tin, aluminum foil containers full of whatever food it is. And it was delicious. It was delicious. So they get good grub too.
Yeah.
So it's a really fun evening for not a lot of money.
Yeah. We haven't talked about music much. What about dance?
Dance, well, I'm not really aware. Actually, I'm not really aware of many dance. I mean, I know there are dance collectives in and around Westport, but nothing ongoing except for maybe the Nutcracker. So if anyone out there knows of anything, then please let me know.
Staples Players, where do they fit in with all this?
Oh, Staples Players are, well, listen, we all saw, or most of us saw, Les Mis, and it was truly unbelievable. It was truly unbelievable. And just, it was funny because even at the end of that, I've seen Les Mis a couple times, and at the end of that, I was crying. And all of a sudden I had to remind myself, okay, I'm looking at like high school students. Why are they making me cry? And I think the wonderful thing about them is because they've had experience. They haven't had life experience in terms of years, but they've had life experiences, and they don't know enough to not be raw with their emotions. And so I think that's one of the reasons that these shows are so effervescent, because they're still excited about life, and they're still excited about being on stage, and they're also quite talented. Quite talented.
Very talented. Very talented. People. Who are some of your interesting people on the
oh my goodness.
on the Westport cultural scene? You mentioned Mark Shanahan.
Yeah, Mark Shanahan. MoCA's going through a sort of a staff over. Well, not that they've sort of been through. They have an entirely new staff, and so I do know Sandra in marketing, who's fabulous, but I don't know much of the other people yet because they're pretty new. Mark Shanahan, and I liked Mark Stamos, the past director too. I thought he has a lot of smart ideas. Mark Lamos, of course. Yeah, Stamos is a celebrity. I'm really bad with names, so so apologies. And who else? Who else is there really that we are aware of? I mean, those are the two, and they're looking for the new, like I said, the executive director for the MoCA.
And David Roth and Carrie Long being
oh my gosh,
players.
yes, of course, they're phenomenal.
So what are we missing in Westport? What on the cultural scene?
Dance, like you mentioned. Well, I'll find that out. I'll figure that out as I go along. We have the art. We have the paintings. We have the theater. What do you think we're missing on the cultural scene?
It's a good question. We're probably
it is a good question.
Probably missing the fringe stuff, the experimental stuff, the non-mainstream, whether it's theater or art. We're probably missing that. Yeah. So what of your all the cultural stuff you've done, what stands out? One outstanding experience in Westport and one
oh my gosh
outside of Westport.
I'm going to have to think about that. Well, I think one of the most amazing things is, again, the first Staples show that I went to. And
do you remember what it was?
I don't. I believe it was Hello, Dolly. And I remember being blown away. Like, I can't believe these are kids. I can't. Hello, Dolly, herself.
Yeah.
This is not a child. This is
Yeah.
not a student. She has to be older. And I remember really being blown away by that. And
Very interesting that you say,
What?
because the first thing you mentioned was Peter Pan, seeing it in New
Yeah,
York.
yeah.
I was an elementary school kid, and I saw Peter Pan at Staples, done by Staples Players, and they had Peter Pan fly.
Yes,
they had
Sandy
rigging.
flew.
No, well,
but
this
they
was
did
the
it.
original
Yes,
one.
I remember this. I remember this.
Well, you don't, because it was the 1960s.
Oh
and
no,
you weren't
okay,
here.
you're right. I wasn't. Okay, I remember another performance. Yeah.
Another performance, but this was very early.
Oh wow.
And it was Antoinette Sarno,
Hmm.
whose father was a barber in Saugatuck,
Hmm.
and she was Peter Pan. They had the rigging. She flew. It was, really outstanding for the 1960s.
Unbelievable.
And it got all the Saugatuck people to go to Staples and see this daughter of Saugatuck starring. It was really, really something.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So your non-Westport
For my
experience.
non-Westport, I mean, oh my gosh, I remember seeing community theater, seeing Godspell. And and I've seen Godspell on Broadway too. It wasn't as good.
Yeah.
This was, I mean, I was younger. I was crying, laughing. It was so wonderful. I listened. My mom got me the cassette tape.
Day by day.
Oh, that's my favorite song. That is my favorite song. I love it whenever I hear it. But it was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's when people try to update shows, like that's why when I saw it on Broadway years later and they tried to update it, like instead of the Superman t-shirt, that's what Jesus typically wears, a Superman t-shirt. He looked at the t-shirt and then he traded it for some other kind of shirt. And to me, I was like, that's iconic. And to change that, you're not updating it. You're just losing a big piece of what it is.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with that. But that wasn't the question. So I think maybe seeing, and then of course I told you when I went to the Boston Museum and I saw that big big Morris Louis painting, and I was just like, because I didn't know art could be like that. I'd only seen portraits and, religious artifacts. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. To this day, it's my favorite painting.
Great.
Yeah.
So last question.
Yeah.
Non-culture.
Yeah.
Where do you hang out in Westport?
Oh, my house. I spend a lot of time. I go to Odalise if I'm meeting someone for coffee. I go there a lot. And I go to the Spotted Horse. I mean, it's good. It's always consistent. I like the people. The service is great, and it's right in downtown, and I love being in downtown Westport. I love it. And the Campo Beach, I do a lot of power walks. I mean, everyone says that, but I do a lot of power walks in that area, and that's every single time I'm there, I'm just like, I can't believe I live here.
Yeah.
I just can't believe. And where else do I hang out? Yeah, I guess that's kind of
Great.
where I go. Where do you hang out?
So I go to the Y every day.
Oh,
That's my
yes.
happy place.
Yes.
Swim every day.
Oh, good.
Robin Moyer Chung, the culture correspondent for 06880, talking about all things culture and a couple of things restaurant related. Thank you for coming, and we will see you at the show.
Great. Thanks for having me, Dan.
You got it.